Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful novels of the 21st century, Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner. Now, if you've read it, you know it's this incredible story about friendship and betrayal and this really long, painful search for redemption. And it all starts with just one single life-altering moment.
You know, the book just throws you right in with this unforgettable line. It's kind of a promise, but it's also a warning from our narrator, Amir. He's basically telling us right from the get-go that his entire life, everything about him pivots on this one single moment from his childhood. This is the moment that set everything else in motion.
So where does our story begin? We're in 1970s Kabul, Afghanistan. And this is a really important detail. This is before all the wars that would just tear the country apart. And here we meet our two main characters, Amir, who's the son of a really wealthy, important man, and Hassan, who's the son of his servant. Now, on the surface, these two are as close as brothers, but there's this huge social gap, this chasm that's always just sitting right there between them.
So what does that social gap actually look like? Well, the world they live in it's really sharply divided. See, Amir is a Pashtun. They're the majority, the ruling class, Sunni Muslim. Hassan, on the other hand, is a Hazara. They're a minority, Shia Muslim, and they've been a persecuted people for a long, long time. In fact, Amir finds one of his mother's old history books and discovers that his people, the Pashtuns, had been persecuting Hassan's people for centuries. So this isn't just, some abstract history lesson. This is their daily lived reality.
In this prejudice, it's not just some background noise. It has a very real, very personal cost. All the time, Amir hears the neighborhood kids just yelling these awful, dehumanizing slurs at Hassan. It's this constant, toxic reminder of where they stand in the social hierarchy, a hierarchy that even their incredibly deep friendship just can't seem to escape.
Okay, so at the absolute heart of Amir's world is his relationship with his father, Baba. And this guy, Baba, is this larger-than-life figure, right? He's a super successful businessman, built an orphanage, he can't stand hypocrisy. But, and this is a huge but, he kind of sees Amir's love for poetry and books as a weakness. And what's worse, he often seems to show more affection to the loyal, athletic Hassan. So what does this do? It leaves Amir absolutely desperate for any sign of his father's approval.
And that desperation, that burning need for his dad's approval, it leads us to the biggest event of the year in Kabul, the annual winter kite fighting tournament. Now, for most people, this is just a really fun, beloved tradition. But for Amir? Oh no. For him, it's a battlefield. It's his one shot to win his father's affection.
Yeah, this is so much more than just a game. For Amir, winning this tournament means everything. It means finally becoming the son that he thinks Baba has always wanted. It's his chance, maybe his only chance, to just erase all of his father's doubts and finally be seen as worthy. Absolutely everything is riding on this day.
And guess what? He actually does it. Amir cuts the very last kite, and for a moment, he is a champion. He's hailed as a hero. And Hassan, his loyal friend, says that famous line, "For you 1,000 times over," and just dashes off to retrieve that final fallen kite, which is the ultimate trophy. It's this incredible moment of pure, absolute triumph. But that perfect moment is just shattered. Amir goes looking for Hassan, and he finds him in this deserted alley. He's been cornered by their bully, Asif, and his buddies. And Asif, he's a true monster. He wants the kite, but Hassan, loyal to the very end, refuses to give it up.
And what happens next? Well, this is the event, the one that the whole book hinges on. Amir is hiding, just watching, as Asif does something absolutely horrific to Hassan to get that kite. And Amir, he's just paralyzed by fear. In a moment of pure cowardice, he turns and runs. He abandons his friend when Hassan needs him the most. This single act, this is what will haunt him and define the rest of his life.
You can just imagine the guilt, right? It becomes this poison inside him. Amir can't even stand to be around Hassan anymore, because Hassan is a living, breathing reminder of his own shame. So he pushes him away. And their brotherhood, which was already cracked, just completely shatters when Amir does the unthinkable. He frames Hassan for stealing, which forces Hassan and his father to leave their home forever.
And it's crazy, because at the exact same time that Amir's personal world is collapsing, the entire world outside his front door just explodes. His own private tragedy gets completely tangled up with the fate of his whole country.
So let's just recap how intertwined their stories become. You have the betrayal in the alley in 1975. Then, just a few years later in '79, the Soviets invade Afghanistan. By 1981, Amir and Baba are forced to flee,
eventually making their way to America. And then decades, literally decades go by. But as Amir is about to find out, the past, well, it's never really in the past, is it?
For Amir, America is a chance to start over. He has this beautiful way of describing it. He calls it a river roaring along, unmindful of the past. And he really believes he can just wade into that river and let all his sins drown. He gets married, he becomes a writer, he builds this whole new identity, all in the hope that he can finally outrun the ghost of that scared little boy in the alley.
But the past, it has a way of catching up to you, doesn't it? Then, in the summer of 2001, the phone rings. It's his father's old friend, Rahim Khan, a man who was like a second father to him. He's calling from Pakistan, and he's dying. And he offers Amir the one thing he has secretly, desperately wanted for 26 years, a chance, a way to be good again.
So, what does he do? He goes. This phone call forces Amir to return to a part of the world he barely recognizes. His homeland has been absolutely shattered by decades of war, and now it's suffocating under the brutal iron fist of the Taliban.
And the difference between the Kabul he left and the one he comes back to, it's just heartbreaking. Think about it. The city he remembers was filled with kite shops and cinemas, the music of Ahmad Zahir, the smell of sweet fruit. That's all gone. What he finds is rubble, destruction, and a haze of dust and fear. There are public executions instead of music. And in the cruelest twist of all, flying a kite is now forbidden.
And it's here that Rahim Khan reveals the story's biggest secret. This is a game changer. He tells Amir that Hassan, he wasn't just the servant's son. Hassan was Baba's son too. He was Amir's half-brother. Just try to process that for a second. This one fact completely reframes Amir's entire life. His father's hidden guilt, Amir's own jealousy, the true terrible depth of his betrayal. It was never about a master and a servant. It was brother betraying brother.
But wait, there's more. Rahim Khan also tells him that Hassan and his wife were murdered by the Taliban, and they left behind a son, Sohrab, who is now an orphan in Kabul. Suddenly, Amir's path to redemption becomes crystal clear. It's not just about his own guilt anymore. He has to go back. He has to save his nephew.
So Amir's journey takes its final turn. He has to go right into the heart of darkness for one last violent showdown with all the ghosts of his past.
And this path, man, it is dangerous. First, he has to journey to this desolate orphanage in Kabul. When he gets there, he learns that Sohrab has been taken by a powerful Taliban official. So then, he has to arrange a meeting with this official, which is incredibly risky. And when he finally gets that meeting, who does he discover the official is? Of course, it's Asef, his childhood tormentor, the bully from the alley, now a powerful, sadistic monster. Asef, being the monster he is, agrees to give up Sohrab, but only on one condition. He gets to beat Amir to within an inch of his life. And as it's happening, as his bones are breaking, Amir feels something totally unexpected. He feels peace. He feels healed. This is the physical punishment he's been subconsciously craving for decades, and with it comes this feeling of absolution. He is finally, physically, atoning for his sin.
Now flash forward. After a really long, difficult journey, Amir manages to bring Sohrab to America. And one day, they're in a park in California flying a kite. When another kite tries to cut theirs, Amir, for the first time maybe, fights back. He cuts the other kite, and as it falls, he turns to Sohrab, who's still so traumatized by everything, and he offers to run the kite for him. And he says those words, Hassan's words, "For you 1,000 times over." The story has come full circle.
And that really brings us to the core question of the entire novel, doesn't it? Amir's journey is this profound, painful act of atonement, but is it enough? The story ends on this really fragile note of hope, and it leaves us, the readers, to wonder, can a single act of courage, one single moment, truly redeem a lifetime of cowardice? And maybe more importantly, is it ever really too late to be good again?